They handcuffed him in the middle of Times Square like he was just another criminal dragged from the shadows into the flashing lights. But this wasn't just anyone, this was Elon Musk. Billionaire. Visionary. Disruptor. People gasped as if the air had been punched out of the city itself. Phones came up like a synchronized army. In a matter of seconds, his image was on every screen across the country. Headlines raced across tickers. Elon Musk arrested in public. No charges given. No explanation. Just cold, gleaming cuffs around the wrists of a man who had once promised to take us to Mars. What if the man shaping the future was stopped dead in his tracks? What would he do next? Cameras zoomed in as he looked around, not with fear, but with a curious calm. As if this was part of a plan. As if he had seen this exact moment play out before. A child holding her father's hand asked, "Is he a bad guy?" Her father didn't answer. Onlookers weren't sure what they were witnessing. A takedown or a test. Even the officers seemed hesitant, nervous almost, like they weren't arresting a man but disturbing a force. Musk said nothing, just offered a small smile that didn't reach his eyes. He didn't resist. He didn't ask questions. He simply let it happen. A swarm of federal agents surrounded him, blocking him from view, but not from memory. And within 5 minutes, everything began to unravel. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Somewhere behind the flashing lights and whirring drones, a signal had already been sent. Not from a phone or computer, but from something else entirely. Something invisible, waiting, listening. In a bunker 3 states away, screens flickered to life and lines of code danced across them. The system began to change, first quietly, then all at once. At Tesla headquarters, alarms went off not from intrusion, but activation. Employees stared at their screens as instructions they'd never seen before appeared under their logins. At SpaceX, satellites began realigning their trajectories, their orbits recalibrated with precise intent. Starlink terminals all over the world blinked as if someone had just flipped a switch. And yet, Elon said nothing. Just that same unreadable smile. The officers loaded him into a black van, doors slamming shut behind him. But the real noise wasn't on the street, it was online. Reddit exploded. Twitter burned. TikTokers live-streamed theories. The man who made rockets land themselves, who tamed Wall Street with Dogecoin memes, was suddenly a prisoner. Or so it seemed. 5 minutes. That's all it took before the first system crash. Government data centers in Washington, D.C. blinked out. Then, traffic lights in several cities failed. Military-grade encryption was suddenly less secure than an iPhone lock screen. And someone, somewhere, had access. The world didn't know it yet, but the arrest wasn't an end. It was a trigger. A line of code buried in the architecture of countless programs, waiting for a specific sequence, a visual match, a location ping, a facial recognition ID tagged with a certain metadata trail. Once all 3 confirmed, the floodgates opened. Elon Musk had been building something beneath everything. A fail-safe. Not to destroy the world's systems, but to rebuild them. Not from above, but from below. The news anchors speculated endlessly. Was it securities fraud? Tax evasion? National security breaches? But none of them noticed the live data disappearing off their own servers as they spoke. A shadow network began waking up. Silent. Seamless. Unstoppable. The president was briefed within minutes, and his reaction said it all. Panic. Because this wasn't just Elon's arrest. It was the beginning of the collapse of control. Rebecca Hale, the lead federal agent in charge, stood just outside the van and stared at him through the tinted glass. She'd watched him for months. Studied his erratic behavior. Read every tweet, every patent, every obscure forum post. And still, nothing prepared her for this. What does he know? She muttered to herself. But the better question was, what had he already set in motion? Traffic outside Times Square backed up for miles as drones buzzed overhead. Tourists stood frozen, not from shock, but from something deeper, uncertainty. You could feel it in the air. Like standing at the edge of a cliff and realizing the ground beneath wasn't solid after all. Musk sat quietly in the van, cuffs tight around his wrists. He tilted his head to the side, eyes closing for just a moment. Like he was listening to something no one else could hear. And in that silence, something awakened. The system. The world's complex weave of information, surveillance, communication, banking, logistics, began to shift. Like a sleeping beast stretching its limbs. A trillion small changes cascading into something unthinkable. 5 minutes after Elon Musk was handcuffed in public, the world began to change. And no one saw it coming. But Elon did. He always did. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Elon Musk was not born under a lucky star, nor was he raised in a world of comfort and ease. Far from the polished boardrooms and endless headlines, his story began in Pretoria, South Africa, where a quiet boy with an insatiable curiosity learned early that the world didn't owe him anything. His father, Elon Musk, was a man of contradictions, brilliant engineer but distant, demanding, and at times, cold. The house was large, but the warmth was sparse. Elon spent his childhood navigating the fragile borders of family tension, where love was measured in silence and expectations were never spoken aloud. His mother, May Musk, was his refuge, a gentle yet fiercely independent woman who had immigrated from Canada and raised her children with stories of strength and hope. Elon adored her, the anchor in the storm. School was a battlefield. As a child, Elon was relentlessly bullied for his thin frame, awkwardness, and voracious appetite for books. He carried worlds in his backpack. Science fiction novels, encyclopedias, comic books, anything that could whisk him away from the taunts and isolation. Yet, those tormentors only pushed him deeper into his mind, crafting the blueprint for a man who would refuse to be broken. At the age of 10, Elon taught himself programming on a battered Commodore VIC-20. By 12, he had coded and sold a video game called Blaster for $500. That small victory sparked something inside him, a belief that knowledge was power, that the impossible was merely unattempted. But the boy who dreamed of rockets and distant stars was also a boy learning to survive. His parents divorced when he was a teenager, fracturing the fragile sense of security he had left. His relationship with his father grew more complicated, at times close, at others, deeply strained. Elon's fierce independence began taking shape, fueled by a silent promise never to depend on anyone else. By the time he was 17, he had made a decision that surprised many in his family. He was moving to North America to chase a dream that no one back home could understand. The move to Canada was a tactical choice, a stepping stone to the United States. He enrolled at Queen's University in Ontario, far from the familiarity of Pretoria but still feeling like an outsider. The cultural shift was immense, but Elon's focus never wavered. He met new people, like his brother Kimball, with whom he shared an unbreakable bond and a restless hunger to innovate. Even in this new world, though, he wrestled with loneliness. Making friends was difficult, the weight of expectations and his own relentless drive made casual connections feel hollow. Yet, love did find a way. Elon's first serious relationship was with Justine Wilson, a Canadian author whose intelligence and kindness cut through his armor. They married, shared dreams, and faced heartbreak. Their first son died tragically, a wound that left Elon quiet and haunted. Despite the pain, Elon threw himself into work harder than ever. The tension between love and ambition defined much of his early adulthood, a conflict between building a future for the world and building a future for his family. College life blended into the startup grind when Elon transferred to the University of Pennsylvania. He earned degrees in physics and economics, the twin disciplines that would become the backbone of his career. At night, he worked tirelessly on new ideas, from energy to space exploration. Elon's mind was a storm of possibilities, but also of doubts. The quiet boy who once hid in books now grappled with the immense pressure of expectation, both from himself and the world watching. The tech boom of the 1990s arrived just as Elon was ready. He co-founded Zip2, a software company that provided business directories and maps for newspapers. The early days were grueling. Cold calls, broken computers, all-nighters fueled by cheap coffee and an iron will. He clashed with investors and partners, often frustrated by the slow pace of progress. But Zip2 eventually sold for nearly $300 million, giving Elon his first major taste of success, and the means to pursue bigger dreams. Still, success brought new battles. Elon faced skepticism and jealousy, and the relentless media glare began to shape his public persona, sometimes flattering, often unforgiving. After Zip2, he moved on to co-found X.com, an online bank that eventually became PayPal. Here, the pattern of conflict repeated, brilliant innovation shadowed by corporate politics and boardroom betrayals. Elon was famously ousted from the CEO position, a move that shook him but never broke him. His childhood lessons of resilience and independence kicked in. Instead of retreating, he doubled down on his vision of changing the world. He poured his fortune and soul into two ventures that seemed impossible at the time, Tesla Motors and SpaceX. At Tesla, he faced ridicule. Critics called electric cars a fad, a fantasy. At SpaceX, rockets exploding on the launch pad were public spectacles of failure. But behind the headlines, Elon's mind was never still. He was obsessed with the future, a future where humanity was no longer chained to Earth, where renewable energy was the norm, where artificial intelligence was a partner, not a threat. Throughout it all, Elon's personality was a complex mix of brilliance and vulnerability. His friends described him as intense, sometimes difficult, yet deeply loyal. His relationships often strained under the weight of his ambition, but those close to him saw flashes of warmth and humor that few others did. In moments of solitude, Elon would reflect on the sacrifices made along the way, lost friendships, broken marriages, nights spent staring at the stars, wondering if the price was worth paying. These emotional memories fueled the man we see today, a man ready to face any storm because he had weathered so many before. The foundation of Elon Musk's story is not just his inventions or his wealth, but his relentless spirit forged in the crucible of hardship and hope. It's this spirit that would push him forward when everything seemed lost. When the system turned against him, it wasn't just the billionaire the world watched, it was the boy who refused to be beaten. The one who had learned early that no matter how far you fall, you can always climb back up. This origin was not just a backdrop but a lens, a way to understand the contradictions that make Elon both a hero and a target. It explains why he can be both reckless and calculated, distant and charismatic, visionary and deeply human. As the world watched him cuffed in public, few realized the battles he had already fought inside himself. Few knew the emotional scars beneath the confident exterior. But this story was far from over. Because the same fire that burned in the lonely boy's heart was still alive. And it was about to ignite a revolution no one saw coming. After leaving the familiar streets of Canada behind, Elon Musk set his sights on Silicon Valley, the place where dreams were either made or shattered in the blink of an eye. The valley was a crucible, full of brilliant minds and cutthroat competition, a place where failure was common but glory was reserved for the relentless. Elon arrived with nothing but a head full of ideas and a stubborn refusal to accept limitations. In the beginning, the grind was brutal. Days blurred into nights and back again as Elon worked tirelessly alongside his brother Kimball. The brothers shared a fierce passion for technology and an unshakable belief that they could change the world, even if no one else believed in them yet. They launched Zip2, a software company aimed at helping newspapers build online directories, a small step in the age of the internet, but a crucial one. Their modest office was little more than a cramped, run-down apartment filled with flickering monitors, second-hand furniture, and an air of relentless ambition. Elon was known for pushing his team to the edge, expecting nothing less than perfection. His vision was clear, but his management style was intense and sometimes harsh. He demanded long hours, often working through the night, fueled by a mix of caffeine and stubborn determination. Those who worked with him saw both brilliance and frustration, a man driven by a vision so big that everyday obstacles seemed insignificant. The pressure strained relationships. Elon's personal life took a backseat as work consumed him. Friends drifted away, and romantic relationships struggled under the weight of his obsession. Yet, despite the toll, there was a magnetic pull to his relentless energy that drew others in. When Zip2 finally sold for nearly $300 million, the world took notice. But Elon wasn't content to rest on his laurels. With his first big payday, he looked beyond software to bigger, more audacious goals. The internet was still young, and Elon saw an opportunity to disrupt how people managed money online. This led to the founding of X.com, an online bank that promised to revolutionize finance. X.com was ahead of its time. The idea of sending money electronically was novel, exciting, but riddled with regulatory challenges and skeptical investors. Elon threw himself into the project with the same intensity that had defined Zip2, pushing for innovation and speed. But the seeds of conflict had already been sown. Within months, tensions with the board and executives escalated. Elon's direct style and big ideas clashed with the cautious approach favored by others. He was ousted from his CEO position while on vacation, a betrayal that cut deep. The humiliation of losing control over a company he helped build weighed heavily on him. But Elon's resilience was legendary. Instead of folding, he doubled down on his ambitions, fueled by a quiet rage and a renewed sense of purpose. PayPal emerged from the ashes of X.com, becoming the world's leading online payment system and eventually selling to eBay for $1.5 billion. Elon's share was significant, but more important was the reputation he had forged as a visionary willing to bet everything on the future. The world was beginning to recognize him, but not always kindly. Media outlets painted him as a disruptor, a maverick, sometimes a reckless gambler. His tweets sparked controversy. His decisions baffled industry insiders. And yet, beneath the public persona was a man driven by a dream bigger than himself. Elon's next ventures, Tesla Motors and SpaceX, were born from this restless ambition. Tesla aimed to prove electric cars could be not just viable but superior to gasoline vehicles. SpaceX sought to make space travel affordable and accessible, a dream that had seemed out of reach for decades. The odds were stacked against him. Investors were wary, engineers were skeptical, and the public was doubtful. Tesla's early models were criticized for being impractical and expensive. SpaceX's first 3 launches failed spectacularly. But Elon's reaction was consistent: failure was only a stepping stone. He famously mortgaged his own home to keep Tesla afloat during its darkest days. His hands-on involvement went beyond CEO duties. He worked alongside engineers, stayed up all night solving problems, and personally inspected every detail. His teams both feared and admired him. The pressure was immense. Musk's health deteriorated, relationships fractured, and media scrutiny intensified. But hope flickered. SpaceX achieved its first successful rocket launch in 2008, a moment that many thought would never come. Tesla introduced the Model S, hailed as a game-changer. Obama's administration extended crucial support to both companies, signaling a shift in mainstream acceptance. Through the ups and downs, Elon's character evolved. He grew from a determined outsider into a leader capable of inspiring loyalty and innovation. His personal story became intertwined with the fate of his companies, each success a testament to perseverance, each setback a lesson in resilience. His public image was complicated, hero to some, villain to others. But no one could deny his impact. Beyond technology, Elon's story was about a relentless pursuit of a vision, one where humanity could break free from its limitations, where sustainability and exploration went hand in hand. The Silicon Valley dream was not just about money or fame, it was about reshaping the future. And Elon Musk was determined to lead that charge, no matter the cost. Success rarely comes without a price, and for Elon Musk, the battles that lay ahead were far more complicated than mere business challenges. As Tesla and SpaceX began to make waves, a new kind of pressure took hold, one that threatened not just his companies, but the very system that had enabled his rise. It started quietly, with subtle resistance from entrenched industries. The traditional auto giants viewed Tesla as a threat to their dominance and fought back fiercely. Lobbyists pushed for regulations designed to stifle electric vehicles. Oil companies quietly funded campaigns to cast doubt on the viability of clean energy. SpaceX faced its own formidable adversaries, government agencies wary of privatizing space exploration, contractors comfortable with the status quo, and competitors who dismissed Musk's dreams as reckless fantasies. Meanwhile, inside Elon's companies, cracks began to appear. Engineers and executives clashed over priorities. Musk's famously demanding management style strained relationships, with some employees burned out by the relentless pace and impossible deadlines. But it was the public scrutiny that weighed heaviest. Every misstep, every delay, every tweet was dissected, amplified, and weaponized by critics and rivals alike. Elon found himself under constant siege, media storms, shareholder lawsuits, and regulatory investigations became daily battles. The tension boiled over when Tesla's production targets repeatedly fell short, prompting calls from investors for Elon to step down. Simultaneously, SpaceX's high-profile rocket failures brought intense criticism from government officials and the press. The situation escalated further with Musk's controversial behavior on social media. A tweet about taking Tesla private at $420 per share triggered an SEC investigation, leading to a settlement that forced him to relinquish the Tesla chairman role temporarily and pay hefty fines. The pressure was relentless, and Elon's mental health suffered. He revealed in rare moments of vulnerability the toll of his workload and the loneliness that accompanied his public life. Friends described him as volatile, swinging between bouts of energy-fueled optimism and deep exhaustion. Behind closed doors, Elon grappled with personal struggles, divorces, family tensions, and the isolation that came with being constantly watched. Yet, amid the chaos, moments of hope flickered. Tesla's innovations began to catch the world's imagination, with the launch of the Model 3 signaling a shift toward affordable electric vehicles. SpaceX's successful Dragon capsule missions to the International Space Station marked milestones that silenced many skeptics. Still, the conflicts continued, now with greater stakes. Musk's outspoken support for controversial technologies like artificial intelligence and neural interfaces ignited fierce debates. Governments worried about data privacy and ethical boundaries. Environmental activists criticized the impact of lithium mining for batteries. Social media became a battlefield where every opinion was magnified and every misstep could spiral into a crisis. Then came the biggest challenge yet, a global pandemic that disrupted supply chains, shuttered factories, and threatened the fragile progress Tesla and SpaceX had made. Musk publicly clashed with authorities over lockdown restrictions, defying orders to keep his factories open. His defiance sparked outrage and admiration in equal measure, further polarizing public opinion. Behind the headlines, Musk was navigating a complex web of competing interests, all while trying to keep his companies afloat and his vision intact. The mounting conflicts culminated in a critical turning point, the public handcuffing in Times Square. To many, it seemed like the system's ultimate move to contain a man it could no longer control. But Musk's story was far from over. The arrest was just the beginning of a larger, more intricate game, one where power, technology, and humanity collided. As tensions rose, allies emerged in unexpected places. Engineers, hackers, and activists who believed in Musk's vision began to rally, forming a covert network that would soon play a pivotal role. Musk's resilience and refusal to back down inspired a growing movement, challenging not only corporate giants but the very foundations of control. Through the rising conflict, Musk's character deepened, no longer just a billionaire entrepreneur but a symbol of resistance and innovation in a world resistant to change. The stage was set for a dramatic showdown, where the stakes were nothing less than the future of technology, freedom, and human progress. The moment Elon Musk was handcuffed in public was more than just a spectacle. It was the spark that ignited a journey no one saw coming. As the cameras flashed and the crowd murmured in shock, Elon's mind was already racing, calculating the next move in a game that had suddenly shifted from boardrooms and courtrooms to the heart of the system itself. The arrest wasn't just an attempt to silence him, it was a declaration of war. Yet, within minutes, Elon was back on his feet, defying expectations. The handcuffs that symbolized control became the very chains he would break. Behind the scenes, his team sprang into action, lawyers, engineers, hackers, and loyal insiders working in tandem, a well-oiled machine designed for moments like this. The media frenzy that followed was overwhelming. Headlines screamed about his fall from grace, but those closest to Elon knew the truth. This was the beginning of a new chapter, a pivot from survival to revolution. As Elon's legal battles intensified, so did his technological efforts. His companies ramped up secret projects designed to bypass traditional systems, to create autonomous networks that could operate beyond government and corporate control. Tesla's factories shifted gears, producing not just electric cars but decentralized energy grids and advanced AI systems. SpaceX's rockets were no longer just about space travel, they were about connecting the disconnected, creating new pathways for information and freedom. Elon himself embarked on a relentless schedule, flying between meetings, launch sites, and covert gatherings. His personal energy seemed boundless, fueled by a vision that transcended personal gain. He spoke publicly less but communicated fiercely through actions, each new project a statement of defiance and hope. The journey took Elon far beyond Silicon Valley. He traveled the world, meeting with leaders, innovators, and activists who shared his belief that the existing systems were obsolete. From underground tech hubs in Berlin to startup incubators in Tokyo, Elon built alliances and learned new perspectives. These travels brought vivid new experiences, vivid descriptions of bustling cities, tense negotiations in shadowy rooms, and quiet moments of reflection under starry skies. Each location was a backdrop to the unfolding drama, painting a picture of a man on a mission not just to innovate but to transform. Along the way, Elon uncovered unexpected challenges. Powerful entities tried to infiltrate his networks, sabotage his projects, and undermine his credibility. Cyber attacks targeted Tesla's energy grids. Legal hurdles threatened SpaceX's launches. The conflict was now not just physical but digital and legal, a multidimensional battle that demanded every ounce of Elon's focus. Yet, through these trials, moments of hope emerged. New technologies developed in secret labs began to take shape. Autonomous AI capable of managing energy flows, secure communication systems resistant to censorship, and advanced propulsion technologies that hinted at a new era of space exploration. Elon's vision was no longer just about rockets and electric cars, it was about creating a parallel system where innovation could thrive free from old-world constraints. The emotional stakes ran high. Elon faced betrayals from trusted partners and heartbreak in his personal life, but these struggles only deepened his resolve. The man who had once been a solitary boy in South Africa was now a leader of a movement, driven by a profound sense of purpose and sacrifice. Vivid scenes brought these moments to life. Late nights in glass-walled conference rooms, tense debates under flickering neon lights, and quiet conversations that revealed the human side of a man often portrayed as a cold genius. This climactic journey was more than a physical quest, it was an odyssey of growth and transformation. Elon's character evolved visibly, his confidence tempered by humility, his ambition balanced by a growing awareness of responsibility. The narrative pulsed with tension and hope, as each setback was met with innovation, each defeat with renewed determination. The journey reached a turning point with a dramatic space launch that captured global attention, a mission that not only demonstrated technological prowess but symbolized a new beginning. As the rocket soared into the sky, carrying not just satellites but a message of possibility, the world watched in awe. This event was a climax of hope amidst chaos, a moment that redefined what was possible. Yet, even as the rocket climbed, new challenges loomed on the horizon. Political forces mobilized to rein in Musk's influence. Corporate alliances formed to counter his technological advances. The battle for the future was far from over. But Elon's journey had changed irreversibly. He had crossed the threshold from entrepreneur to revolutionary, from outsider to icon. The path ahead was uncertain and perilous, but the momentum was unstoppable. The climactic journey was a testament to resilience, vision, and the unyielding belief that even the most entrenched systems could be transformed. It set the stage for the emotional climax to come, a revelation that would shake the foundations of everything Elon and the world thought they knew. The emotional climax of Elon Musk's journey came not with a triumphant launch or a groundbreaking invention, but with a devastating revelation that shattered everything he thought he knew about the system he had been fighting. It was late one night, deep in the heart of Tesla's secret innovation lab, when Elon stumbled upon classified documents hidden within the company's encrypted servers. These files exposed a sprawling conspiracy involving government agencies, powerful corporations, and shadowy financiers working together to control technological progress and suppress disruptive innovations. The weight of the discovery hit Elon like a tidal wave. The very system he sought to change was rigged from the inside, designed to maintain the status quo by any means necessary, including sabotage, misinformation, and even orchestrated arrests like his own public handcuffing. As he pored over the details, emotions swirled in a storm inside him, betrayal, anger, fear, but also a fierce determination. The betrayal cut deep because some of the people implicated were those he had once trusted or collaborated with. It was a moment of personal and professional reckoning. Elon realized that this fight was no longer just about his companies or even technology, it was a battle for the future of humanity's freedom and creativity. The tension in the lab was palpable. Engineers working late glanced nervously at Elon, sensing the shift in his demeanor. He was no longer just a CEO, he was a man carrying the burden of a secret that could topple governments and redefine power. Yet even in the midst of this emotional chaos, hope flickered. Elon quickly understood that exposing this conspiracy could galvanize a new wave of support. He began coordinating with trusted allies inside and outside his network, activists, journalists, and hackers who believed in transparency and change. The narrative took a dramatic turn as Elon prepared to reveal the truth. Press conferences were scheduled, encrypted messages sent, and secure channels opened. The world's eyes turned toward him, anticipation building with every leaked detail. But the climax wasn't without setbacks. Attempts to discredit him intensified. Fake news stories emerged, financial markets wobbled, and some allies distanced themselves, afraid of the consequences. The personal toll was immense. Elon's relationship strained to breaking points. His public persona was torn between heroism and paranoia. The emotional roller coaster played out not just in headlines, but in the quiet moments where he questioned the cost of his crusade. The climax reached its peak during a dramatic live broadcast where Elon unveiled the conspiracy to millions worldwide. The atmosphere was electric, charged with disbelief, outrage, and hope. As he spoke, his voice unwavering despite the fatigue and pain, viewers felt the raw emotion of a man who had fought against impossible odds and was now standing at the crossroads of destiny. This moment shattered the illusion of control held by those in power. It ignited protests, inspired new legislation, and sparked a global conversation about the future of technology, privacy, and freedom. But the climax also revealed something deeper about Elon himself. Through the storm of betrayal and conflict, he had grown, not just as a visionary entrepreneur, but as a human being capable of empathy, sacrifice, and profound resilience. He publicly acknowledged his mistakes, the toll on his personal life, and the weight of responsibility that came with his position. The emotional climax was not just a revelation of external corruption, but an internal transformation. Elon's journey became a mirror reflecting the complexities of ambition, power, and humanity. The chapter closed with a mix of tension and hope, knowing that while the battle was far from over, a new chapter was beginning. One where the lessons learned would guide the way forward. The emotional depth of this climax made it a pivotal turning point, setting the stage for resolution and reflection in the chapters to come. The revelations Elon Musk had exposed sent shockwaves through the world's corridors of power, but amid the turmoil, a profound transformation was taking place, both in the world around him and within himself. After the storm of public scrutiny, legal battles, and media frenzy began to subside, Elon found a rare moment to pause and reflect on everything that had transpired. The handcuffs that had symbolized oppression and control were now a distant memory, replaced by a new sense of clarity and purpose. His journey from a restless boy in South Africa to the man who had taken on the entire system was nothing short of extraordinary, but it was also deeply human. Elon realized that the greatest victories were not measured in market caps or rocket launches, but in the lessons learned about love, family, sacrifice, and the true meaning of success. The resolution of his conflict was not a neat ending but a beginning, a philosophical awakening that embraced complexity and contradiction. Family became central to this new chapter. Despite years of estrangement and misunderstandings, Elon sought to reconnect with those closest to him. He made peace with past mistakes, recognizing that the drive to change the world had often come at the expense of personal relationships. Conversations that once felt impossible now opened doors to forgiveness and healing. Elon's reflections on love extended beyond family to a broader understanding of humanity. He spoke about empathy and connection, acknowledging that technology alone could not solve the world's problems without compassion and ethical responsibility. The pursuit of innovation was now intertwined with a commitment to sustainability and inclusivity. This shift was mirrored in his companies, which embraced new missions focused on social impact and environmental stewardship. Tesla accelerated efforts to make renewable energy accessible to all, while SpaceX expanded initiatives to collaborate internationally, breaking down geopolitical barriers in space exploration. Elon's leadership style evolved as well. Gone were the days of relentless pressure and single-minded focus. He began fostering cultures of collaboration, diversity, and mental health awareness within his organizations. His openness about his own struggles helped destigmatize the challenges faced by those working in high-pressure environments. The story's resolution also touched on sacrifice. Elon openly discussed the personal cost of his crusade, the broken marriages, missed milestones with his children, and the toll on his own well-being. Yet, he framed these sacrifices not as regrets but as part of the price of pushing humanity forward. The message was clear: progress requires courage, resilience, and sometimes painful choices. The reflection extended to the broader society as well. Elon became a vocal advocate for transparency, ethical innovation, and systemic reform. He urged governments, corporations, and individuals to rethink their roles in shaping the future, emphasizing that technology should serve humanity, not the other way around. The narrative style brought these themes to life through vivid descriptions of quiet moments, a solitary walk through a park reflecting on the stars, heartfelt conversations with loved ones, and the simple joy of watching a child's curiosity about the world. These scenes grounded the story in emotion, making the resolution resonate deeply. The chapter closed with a powerful message: life is full of surprises, but love will always lead the way. This line echoed throughout the story, reminding readers that no matter how high one soars or how fierce the battles, it is the connections we build and the values we hold that ultimately define us. Elon Musk's journey was far from over, but this chapter marked a turning point where success was redefined, not by wealth or power, but by meaning and legacy. The resolution and reflection offered a hopeful vision for the future, inspiring readers to face their own challenges with courage and compassion. With the public revelation behind him and the world watching closely, Elon Musk stepped into a phase of his life defined by cautious optimism and relentless determination. The handcuff incident had transformed from a moment of humiliation into a powerful catalyst for change, pushing Elon beyond the traditional boundaries of technology and business. But new challenges, often hidden from the public eye, began to surface, battles that tested not just his intellect but his resilience, his values, and his vision for the future. The aftermath of the conspiracy's exposure sent shockwaves through global industries, but it also ignited fierce opposition from powerful interests intent on regaining control. Elon found himself navigating a complex web of legal battles, covert sabotage, and political maneuvers designed to undermine his efforts. Unlike before, these conflicts were no longer confined to boardrooms or court hearings, they played out in the shadows of cyberspace, behind closed doors in government agencies, and within the intricate networks of global finance. Elon's companies, Tesla and SpaceX, became targets of sophisticated cyber attacks aimed at crippling their infrastructure and stealing intellectual property. Tesla's energy grids faced unprecedented hacking attempts threatening blackouts, while SpaceX's satellite networks were repeatedly jammed during critical missions. Each attack was a reminder that the stakes were higher than ever. The fight was no longer just about innovation, it was about protecting the very tools that could redefine humanity's future. Elon's team responded with equal ingenuity, building layers of cybersecurity that blurred the line between technology and warfare. They recruited some of the brightest minds in cryptography, AI defense systems, and ethical hacking, forming a clandestine unit dedicated to safeguarding their vision. These unseen battles were taxing, demanding constant vigilance and rapid adaptation. The stress weighed heavily on Elon, who remained a tireless leader despite exhaustion and personal sacrifice. His once public persona became more guarded, communicating less through flamboyant tweets and more through measured, impactful actions. This evolution reflected a growing awareness of the complexities he faced, a recognition that changing the world required not only boldness but strategy, patience, and sometimes subtlety. Meanwhile, Elon's efforts to foster global collaboration gained momentum. Understanding that innovation could not flourish in isolation, he expanded partnerships across borders, connecting startups, governments, and academic institutions. This network aimed to democratize technology, making breakthroughs accessible to diverse communities and empowering the next generation of innovators. His travels continued, though now under greater security and secrecy. Elon visited emerging tech hubs in Africa and South America, regions often overlooked by traditional industry but rich with talent and untapped potential. These journeys were filled with vivid encounters, vibrant markets, late-night strategy sessions with young entrepreneurs, and moments of reflection beneath unfamiliar skies. Through these experiences, Elon deepened his commitment to inclusive progress, believing that the future belonged to those who embraced diversity and collaboration. On the home front, Elon faced ongoing personal challenges. Rebuilding fractured relationships required humility and time, and he grappled with balancing his public mission with private needs. The solitude that had once been a refuge sometimes turned into isolation, but Elon found solace in unexpected places, quiet mornings with his children, candid talks with close friends, and even moments of meditation that helped center his restless mind. These glimpses of peace fueled his perseverance, reminding him that the fight was as much about preserving humanity's soul as advancing technology. The emotional landscape of this chapter painted a portrait of a man evolving beyond the archetype of a genius billionaire. Elon became a symbol of resilience, embodying the tension between vulnerability and strength, innovation and tradition, ambition and compassion. His story resonated with many who saw in him a reflection of their own struggles and aspirations. The chapter built on the narrative's tension and hope, showing that every victory carried new challenges, and every setback contained seeds of opportunity. Elon's path was neither linear nor predictable, it was a journey marked by twists, learning, and growth. The underlying message was clear: change was possible, but it required courage, adaptability, and an unwavering commitment to values. As the chapter closed, Elon prepared for yet another pivotal moment. A bold initiative that would test his resolve and redefine the boundaries of human achievement. The stage was set for the next dramatic turn in a story that had already captivated millions, reminding everyone that even when the system pushes back, those who dare to dream and fight can rewrite the rules. This new beginning promised not just innovation but transformation, a vision where technology served humanity's highest ideals and where hope endured amid uncertainty. Elon Musk's next move was unlike anything the world had seen before, a bold initiative that sought to push the boundaries of technology and society so far that it challenged the very definition of progress. Building on everything he had learned from the previous battles, both public and unseen, Elon envisioned a project that was not just about invention but about rewriting the rules of how humanity interacted with technology and with each other. This initiative was called Project Genesis, a secret plan to create a decentralized, self-sustaining ecosystem that combined renewable energy, advanced AI, space exploration, and open-source innovation. Elon wanted to build a new model for civilization itself, one that could function independently from the traditional political and economic systems that had proven vulnerable to corruption and control. The core idea was ambitious: a global network of interconnected smart cities powered entirely by clean energy, managed by transparent AI systems designed to optimize resources, ensure fairness, and foster creativity. Each city would act as a node in a larger web that included orbital satellites, underground farms, and deep space habitats. This network would enable humans to live, work, and innovate in ways that transcended borders, hierarchies, and outdated bureaucracies. The complexity of the plan was staggering, and the stakes were higher than ever. Elon knew that Project Genesis would provoke fierce opposition from entrenched powers who saw it as a threat to their control. But he also understood that the world was ready for a new vision, one born from the failures and lessons of the past. The journey to launch this initiative required every ounce of Elon's leadership, creativity, and resilience. He assembled a diverse team of visionaries, scientists, engineers, artists, philosophers, and activists, each bringing unique skills and perspectives. Together, they worked tirelessly to design the technologies, governance models, and social frameworks that would underpin this new civilization. The narrative captured the energy of these collaborations, the passionate debates, the late-night breakthroughs, the moments of doubt balanced by bursts of inspiration. Elon's ability to unify such diverse minds under a shared vision was a testament to his evolved leadership. At the same time, the initiative faced intense scrutiny. Governments demanded transparency while simultaneously attempting to regulate or block key components. Corporate competitors launched smear campaigns, and hackers tested the network's defenses relentlessly. These external pressures threatened to derail the project, but Elon's team remained steadfast, innovating new solutions and adapting strategies in real time. The personal cost for Elon was immense. He sacrificed time with his family, endured public criticism, and bore the weight of responsibility for a vision that was as fragile as it was revolutionary. Yet through it all, he remained driven by a deep belief that the world could be better, that humanity deserved a future defined by collaboration, sustainability, and freedom. The chapter wove vivid scenes of Elon's daily life, walking through prototype smart cities with engineers, discussing AI ethics with philosophers, and gazing at the stars with a renewed sense of wonder. These moments grounded the story in human emotion, emphasizing that behind the grand vision was a man committed to making a meaningful difference. As Project Genesis moved from blueprint to reality, the world watched with a mixture of skepticism and hope. The initial launch included a pilot city in a remote desert, designed to demonstrate the feasibility of the technologies and social models. The success of this city became a symbol of possibility, inspiring others to join the movement. The emotional arc of the chapter highlighted the tension between risk and reward, fear and hope, isolation and community. Elon's journey was now inseparable from the collective story of those who believed in a better future. The chapter closed with a powerful sense of momentum and promise, setting the stage for the inevitable conflicts and breakthroughs that lay ahead. Elon Musk's bold initiative was not just a project, it was a beacon of hope for a world ready to reinvent itself, a testament to the enduring human spirit and the power of visionary leadership. The launch of Project Genesis Pilot City marked the beginning of a new era, but it was also a moment fraught with tension and uncertainty. Elon Musk and his team had poured years of effort, innovation, and sheer willpower into creating a city that could operate as a fully autonomous, sustainable ecosystem. Located in the harsh expanse of the Nevada desert, the city was more than a technological marvel, it was a bold social experiment. The question on everyone's mind was simple but profound: could it work? From the moment the city's systems powered on, Elon was keenly aware that every success would be celebrated but every failure magnified. The eyes of governments, corporations, and citizens worldwide were fixed on this isolated city, waiting to see if Elon's vision was practical or just another idealistic fantasy. Early on, things went smoothly. Solar panels spread like glass wings across rooftops, harvesting sunlight and feeding energy into smart grids managed by AI algorithms designed for maximum efficiency. Water was recycled through advanced filtration systems, and vertical farms began producing fresh food year-round. Autonomous vehicles glided silently through streets, ferrying residents and goods with pinpoint precision. Elon personally toured the city's control center, a sleek hub humming with data streams, where engineers monitored every system in real time. He felt a surge of pride and hope. Yet, beneath the surface, tension simmered. The city's AI governance protocols, designed to make decisions based on fairness and collective well-being, faced unexpected ethical dilemmas. For example, when a sudden heatwave threatened the city's energy reserves, the system had to decide whether to ration power in a way that might inconvenience some residents more than others. These decisions sparked debates among the city's inhabitants. Some praised the AI's impartiality, while others feared losing control to algorithms. Elon engaged directly with residents during town halls, listening to concerns and emphasizing the project's commitment to transparency and adaptability. His willingness to face criticism head-on helped build trust, but he knew these were early tests of not just technology, but social cohesion. Meanwhile, outside forces intensified their efforts to undermine the project. A coordinated cyber attack targeted the city's energy grid during the heatwave, attempting to overload systems and cause a blackout. Thanks to the cybersecurity team's preparation, the attack was thwarted, but the incident underscored the fragility of the new system and the real stakes involved. Elon's response was swift and public. He issued a statement condemning sabotage and calling for a united front to protect innovation and progress. The incident also sparked a wave of solidarity, with global tech communities rallying to support Project Genesis and share best practices in defense. On a personal level, the stress of the crisis weighed heavily on Elon. The sleepless nights, high-pressure decisions, and public scrutiny took a toll on his health and relationships. Yet, moments of quiet reflection helped him recharge: a solitary walk under the desert stars, conversations with close confidants, and time spent connecting with his children away from the media glare. These small but vital moments reminded him why the fight was worth it. The chapter's narrative wove detailed descriptions of the city's innovative features, the shimmering solar fields, the humming vertical gardens, and the vibrant community spaces where residents gathered to share stories and dreams. These scenes brought the story to life, making the futuristic city tangible and relatable. The emotional heartbeat of the chapter centered on the duality of progress and challenge. Elon's vision was no longer theoretical, it was a living, breathing experiment with real people and stakes. The successes buoyed hope, while setbacks demanded resilience. As the pilot city system stabilized and residents adapted to new ways of living, the world began to see Project Genesis not as a distant dream, but as a potential blueprint for future societies. Yet, Elon understood that this was only the beginning. Larger tests awaited, from scaling the model globally to confronting deeper political resistance. The chapter ended on a note of cautious optimism, with Elon looking toward the horizon, aware that the road ahead would be arduous but confident in the strength of his team and vision. Project Genesis had passed its first test, but the true journey was just beginning. The success of Project Genesis Pilot City sent ripples far beyond the Nevada desert, triggering waves of both excitement and resistance across the globe. News outlets buzzed with stories about Elon Musk's audacious vision transforming from a futuristic dream into a functioning reality. Some hailed it as the dawn of a new civilization, while others warned of the potential upheaval to established systems of power and economy. The ripple effect began with an unexpected surge of interest from cities, governments, and communities eager to learn from the experiment and replicate its principles. Invitations poured in for Elon and his team to present the project at international summits, climate conferences, and technology forums. These appearances were electric moments, charged with curiosity, skepticism, and sometimes outright hostility. Elon faced questions that cut to the core: could such a city truly be sustainable? Was reliance on AI governance ethical? How would these innovations impact jobs, privacy, and inequality? Instead of dismissing critics, Elon welcomed the dialogue. His approach was to engage openly, to listen deeply, and to refine the model based on diverse feedback. This transparency helped build alliances with unexpected partners. Academics, local activists, entrepreneurs, each bringing fresh ideas that strengthened the project. The ripple effect also manifested in grassroots movements. Inspired by the pilot city's example, communities began experimenting with microversions of Project Genesis technologies and governance models. Urban neighborhoods implemented localized smart grids, rural areas adopted vertical farming techniques, and social cooperatives explored AI-driven decision-making. These decentralized efforts created a mosaic of innovation that complemented Elon's grand vision, proving that change could begin anywhere. But as momentum built, so did opposition. Powerful corporations whose profits depended on fossil fuels, traditional infrastructure, and hierarchical control ramped up efforts to slow the movement. Lobbyists pressured legislators, misinformation campaigns spread doubt, and regulatory hurdles multiplied. Elon's team encountered legal battles over patents, zoning laws, and international treaties. The struggle was no longer just technical or philosophical, it was political. Behind the scenes, Elon coordinated with allies in government and civil society to push for reforms that would enable sustainable innovation while protecting rights and interests. These negotiations were delicate and often frustrating, but necessary for progress. The chapter highlighted how the ripple effect extended into the cultural realm as well. Art, literature, and media began reflecting the themes of transformation and hope embodied by Project Genesis. Musicians wrote songs inspired by smart cities and clean energy, filmmakers explored stories of humans living alongside AI in harmonious communities, writers penned essays about the ethics of technology and the future of freedom. This cultural awakening added depth and urgency to the movement, touching hearts and minds in ways that data and speeches could not. On a personal level, Elon found himself at a crossroads. The expanding scale of the project demanded more delegation and trust in his team, forcing him to step back from day-to-day operations. This shift was challenging for a man accustomed to being deeply involved in every detail, but it also opened space for him to reflect on his legacy and the kind of leader he wanted to be. Relationships with family and friends, once strained by relentless focus on work, slowly healed as Elon prioritized balance and connection. The emotional tone of the chapter conveyed this tension between expansion and intimacy, ambition and humility. It portrayed Elon as a man learning to share his vision while nurturing the roots that grounded him. The chapter closed with a vivid scene at an international climate summit where Elon delivered a keynote speech that captured the essence of the ripple effect. Change is not a single event, but a wave that grows with every hand that joins it. Project Genesis is not just my dream, it is our collective future, shaped by every person who dares to believe in something better. This message resonated worldwide, fueling a renewed sense of possibility and responsibility. The ripple effect was no longer confined to technology or policy, it was a movement of people, ideas, and values spreading across continents, lighting the way toward a new chapter in human history. As the story unfolded, it became clear that Elon Musk's battle was not just against systems of power, but for the heart and soul of progress itself. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? The ripple effect that had begun with Project Genesis reached a critical juncture as the movement gained unprecedented momentum, and the forces arrayed against it escalated their tactics. Elon Musk's vision, once dismissed as a futuristic fantasy, was now a tangible and growing reality, yet it faced a turning point where its survival was uncertain. The next phase would test not only the strength of the technology but the resilience of the people behind it and their commitment to a new way of living. The first signs of this turning point emerged in unexpected ways. While many governments and corporations attempted to obstruct Project Genesis, several key world leaders surprised the global community by endorsing the initiative publicly. This bipartisan support provided a crucial boost, helping to legitimize the project and secure funding for expansion. It also emboldened local governments to embrace smart city models and renewable energy programs. But this support was not unconditional. World leaders demanded accountability, transparency, and assurances that the new technologies would not exacerbate social divides or infringe on privacy rights. Elon and his team responded by releasing detailed reports on AI ethics, data protection, and environmental impact. They convened advisory councils that included ethicists, civil rights activists, and community representatives to guide the project's development. This openness helped build bridges but also introduced new complexities, as differing values and priorities had to be balanced carefully. Amid these political maneuvers, the technological front saw dramatic breakthroughs and equally dramatic setbacks. Elon's team developed advanced AI systems capable of managing resources and governance more efficiently and fairly than any human-led bureaucracy. These systems learned from real-time data and adapted policies to changing conditions, ensuring optimal energy distribution, waste management, and social services. However, some AI decisions sparked controversy. Algorithms prioritized environmental sustainability in ways that conflicted with individual preferences or economic interests. Debates over AI's role in governance intensified, raising profound questions about human agency and trust. Meanwhile, Elon pushed the boundaries of space exploration by accelerating plans to establish off-world colonies that would complement Earth-based smart cities. SpaceX launched a fleet of autonomous cargo ships to build infrastructure on Mars and the Moon. These missions captured public imagination, symbolizing hope and the limitless potential of human ingenuity. Yet, the resources required for these ambitious endeavors sparked criticism from those who argued that Earth's urgent problems deserved exclusive attention. The tension between idealism and pragmatism defined this turning point. Elon's vision was grand and transformative, but it demanded navigating a world rife with conflicting interests and limited resources. The emotional toll on Elon and his team was palpable. Long hours, public scrutiny, and internal disagreements tested their unity and resolve. Elon himself grappled with moments of doubt and exhaustion, questioning whether the sacrifices were worth the potential rewards. Yet, his commitment never wavered. In private moments, he drew strength from memories of his childhood struggles, the handcuff incident that had sparked his fight against systemic control, and the growing community of believers supporting Project Genesis. The chapter's narrative highlighted the human dimension of this turning point, portraying Elon as both visionary and vulnerable. Scenes of intense boardroom debates contrasted with quiet moments of reflection and connection with loved ones. The story emphasized that true leadership required embracing complexity and imperfection. As Project Genesis expanded, new challenges emerged at the social level. The integration of AI governance and smart technologies disrupted traditional industries and labor markets, causing anxiety and resistance among workers and communities. Elon's team launched retraining programs, social safety nets, and community engagement initiatives to mitigate these impacts. They worked with educators to redesign curricula for future skills, blending technology literacy with ethics and civic responsibility. Despite these efforts, tensions occasionally flared, with protests and political backlash reminding everyone that change was never linear or uncontested. The chapter described these social dynamics in vivid detail, capturing the hopes, fears, and frustrations of people navigating a rapidly changing world. Amidst this complexity, a defining moment arrived. A global summit convened to assess the progress and future of Project Genesis. World leaders, scientists, activists, and community representatives gathered to debate and decide the initiative's next steps. Elon's keynote speech was a defining highlight. He acknowledged the challenges and controversies honestly, emphasizing that innovation must be coupled with empathy and inclusivity. His call for collective responsibility resonated deeply, inspiring renewed commitment and collaboration. The summit concluded with a historic agreement to expand Project Genesis into multiple continents, accompanied by a framework for ethical governance and shared benefits. The chapter closed on a hopeful yet realistic note. Elon Musk stood on the summit stage, looking out at the diverse faces of the future, the dreamers, the skeptics, the fighters, knowing that the turning point was not an end but a new beginning. The world was poised on the edge of transformation, and the choices made now would shape generations to come. The message was clear: progress was possible, but it required courage, wisdom, and an unwavering dedication to the common good. Just as Project Genesis appeared unstoppable, a storm brewed beneath the surface that threatened to unravel everything Elon Musk and his team had painstakingly built. The turning point that had brought so much promise also exposed vulnerabilities, within the project, the alliances, and Elon himself. The unexpected betrayal struck like a lightning bolt, shaking the foundations of trust and forcing Elon to confront the harsh realities of power and ambition. The betrayal began subtly. An insider, someone Elon had trusted deeply, started leaking confidential information to competitors and political adversaries. This leak revealed sensitive details about the AI governance protocols, strategic plans for off-world colonization, and internal debates about ethical dilemmas. The consequences were immediate and severe. Corporate rivals used the information to launch aggressive campaigns aimed at discrediting Project Genesis, questioning its security, transparency, and potential risks. Some government officials who had shown tentative support withdrew their backing, citing concerns over national security and privacy. The media frenzy intensified, painting Project Genesis as a dangerous experiment teetering on the edge of collapse. Elon felt the sting of betrayal profoundly. The insider was not just a team member but a close confidant who had been part of the initiative since its inception. The revelation cut deep, raising questions about loyalty, ideology, and the complex interplay between idealism and pragmatism. Elon's leadership was tested as never before. He convened emergency meetings, reinforcing security protocols and launching investigations to understand the scope of the breach. The emotional toll was immense, sleep became elusive, and moments of frustration and despair crept in. Yet, beneath the pain, Elon's resolve hardened. He refused to let this setback define the future of Project Genesis. The chapter unfolded through a series of intense scenes that captured the atmosphere of suspicion and urgency. Boardrooms filled with tense debates, encrypted communications monitored around the clock, and team members grappling with the fallout. Elon's interactions with the betrayer were complex and charged, conversations that balanced confrontation with a desperate search for understanding. The narrative peeled back layers of motivation, exploring how fear, ambition, and disillusionment could fracture even the strongest bonds. Despite the turmoil, Elon and his team pressed forward. The breach forced them to re-evaluate key aspects of the project, particularly around transparency and security. They adopted a more open-source approach, inviting external audits and collaborating with independent experts to rebuild trust. This strategy proved challenging but ultimately strengthened the initiative by fostering greater accountability and resilience. Elon's willingness to face the crisis publicly, acknowledging mistakes while outlining corrective measures, earned respect from many skeptics. Parallel to the technical and political challenges, the betrayal ignited philosophical debates within the team and among supporters. Questions about the balance between control and freedom, secrecy and openness, innovation and caution dominated conversations. Elon himself reflected on these dilemmas, realizing that the path to progress was never straightforward but required continual negotiation between competing values. These reflections added depth to the story, portraying Elon as a leader committed not only to achievement but to ethical growth. The social impact of the betrayal was palpable. Some communities involved in the pilot city and satellite projects experienced anxiety and mistrust. Elon and his team prioritized outreach, holding forums and workshops to listen and respond to concerns. These engagements reinforced the importance of human connection and empathy in the midst of technological upheaval. Stories emerged of residents banding together to support the project, embodying the spirit of collective resilience. Meanwhile, the rival factions emboldened by the leak intensified efforts to undermine Project Genesis through legal challenges, lobbying, and disinformation campaigns. Elon confronted these adversaries with a mixture of strategic acumen and moral clarity. He highlighted the stakes beyond competition, the survival of a vision that could redefine humanity's future. His speeches and public appearances during this crisis became galvanizing moments, rallying supporters, and reminding the world that setbacks were part of any meaningful journey. The chapter also explored Elon's personal growth through this adversity. He leaned on his inner circle for support, including family and longtime friends who reminded him of the larger purpose behind the struggle. Moments of vulnerability, quiet conversations, solitary walks, and reflective journaling, revealed a man learning to embrace imperfection and uncertainty as catalysts for growth. These intimate glimpses humanized Elon, making his triumphs and trials resonate deeply with the audience. As the story progressed, the betrayal became a turning point not only in the external challenges facing Project Genesis but in its internal evolution. The team emerged more cohesive and adaptive, embracing a culture of transparency, accountability, and ethical vigilance. Elon's leadership style evolved to balance visionary boldness with grounded pragmatism, recognizing that trust was the most precious currency in their mission. The chapter concluded with a powerful scene at a public forum where Elon addressed supporters and skeptics alike. He acknowledged the pain of betrayal but emphasized the opportunity it presented to strengthen the project and recommit to its ideals. His words struck a chord: in every challenge lies a chance to grow. We will not be defined by those who seek to break us but by the courage with which we rebuild. The crowd's response, a mixture of applause and tears, captured the emotional climax of this chapter. This unexpected betrayal, while a crisis, ultimately became a catalyst for deeper resilience and integrity. It underscored that the journey to reshape the future was fraught with obstacles but also illuminated the enduring power of vision, trust, and human connection. In the aftermath of the betrayal, Elon Musk and the Project Genesis team believed they had weathered the worst storm. Yet, beneath the surface of public scrutiny and corporate warfare, a more insidious threat began to take shape, an unseen enemy operating in the shadows, orchestrating disruptions designed to destabilize not just Project Genesis, but the very foundations of progress and innovation. This enemy was neither a single person nor a simple organization but a complex web of interests united by fear of change and the desire to maintain the status quo at any cost. The first hints of this new threat emerged through a series of subtle but coordinated attacks. Unexplained system glitches, data breaches that evaded even the most advanced cybersecurity measures, and disinformation campaigns that sowed confusion and mistrust among the public. Elon's team, already hardened by the previous betrayal, faced the daunting task of defending their project against a foe that was invisible and unpredictable. The enemy's tactics were sophisticated, leveraging emerging technologies like deepfakes and AI-generated propaganda to manipulate perceptions and erode confidence. Elon himself became a prime target. False rumors about his motives and personal life circulated widely, amplified by automated bots and shadowy influencers. The emotional weight of these attacks was heavy. At times, the barrage of negativity felt overwhelming, threatening to distract from the mission and drain the team's morale. But Elon's response was to double down, channeling frustration into action. He convened his top minds, cybersecurity experts, AI ethicists, social scientists, to develop a multi-layered defense strategy that combined technological innovation with public engagement and education. The narrative in this chapter painted a vivid picture of the invisible battlefield. Detailed descriptions of hackers infiltrating networks, AI systems scanning for anomalies, and crisis teams coordinating rapid responses brought the tension to life. Scenes shifted from high-tech war rooms humming with data flows to community centers where Elon and his team held workshops on media literacy and digital resilience. This dual approach, combining cutting-edge technology with grassroots empowerment, reflected the complexity of the challenge. As the unseen enemy's attacks grew bolder, Elon recognized that conventional methods would not suffice. The project's very openness and transparency, once its greatest strengths, became vulnerabilities that adversaries exploited. This realization sparked intense internal debates about the balance between secrecy and openness, security and accessibility. Elon grappled with these tensions personally, weighing his commitment to democratic principles against the harsh realities of protecting the project from destruction. Amid this turmoil, alliances forged during the ripple effect began to play a crucial role. International partners shared intelligence, coordinated defense measures, and mobilized resources to counter the unseen enemy's reach. A global coalition of innovators, activists, and citizens formed, united by the understanding that the fight for Project Genesis was also a fight for the future of free expression, truth, and innovation. These collaborations brought fresh energy and ideas, demonstrating the power of collective action in the digital age. The chapter also delved into the psychological impact of the Unseen Enemies campaign. Team members and residents of the pilot city faced fear, uncertainty, and fatigue. Elon prioritized mental health support and community-building efforts, recognizing that resilience required not just technological defenses but human strength. He shared candid moments of vulnerability, openly discussing the emotional toll and encouraging openness about struggles. These moments deepened the reader's connection to the characters and reinforced the story's emotional core. The chapter's emotional climax came during a coordinated cyber attack that targeted the city's critical infrastructure. For hours, the team fought to contain the damage and restore systems while Elon communicated with the public to maintain calm and trust. The crisis tested every lesson learned from previous challenges, the importance of transparency, the need for robust defenses, and the power of collective resolve. The chapter concluded with a panoramic view of the pilot city at dawn, solar panels glistening, autonomous vehicles beginning their routes, and residents emerging with quiet determination. This image symbolized the persistence of progress despite the unseen enemy's attempts to derail it. Elon's reflection was clear: the battle was far from over, but the spirit of innovation and community would continue to illuminate the path forward. After months of relentless pressure from unseen enemies and internal challenges, Project Genesis reached what Elon Musk and his team recognized as the moment of truth. This was no ordinary milestone, it was the pivotal point at which the vision they had nurtured, protected, and fought for would either prove its worth or collapse under the weight of opposition. The pilot city had to demonstrate not just technological superiority but resilience, sustainability, and most importantly, the capacity to inspire humanity to embrace a new future. The tension was palpable as the world's eyes turned toward the city. Governments, corporations, media, and citizens awaited the outcome with bated breath. For Elon, this moment was deeply personal. Years of sacrifice, innovation, and struggle had led to this critical test. The project had grown far beyond a mere experiment, it had become a symbol of hope and possibility for millions. Failure was not an option, yet the stakes made the margin for error razor-thin. The day began with a series of final system checks. Engineers and data analysts monitored energy flows, transportation networks, and AI governance algorithms with precision. A minor fault in one subsystem was swiftly detected and corrected, illustrating the robustness of the project's design. Throughout the city, residents went about their routines, embodying the harmonious coexistence between technology and community that Elon had envisioned. This normalcy, however, masked the extraordinary efforts happening behind the scenes. Elon's leadership style during this crucial phase was a blend of calm confidence and transparent communication. He addressed the city's residents and the global audience through live streams, sharing updates and emphasizing collective responsibility. His message was clear: Project Genesis was not just the work of a few but a shared journey requiring trust, adaptability, and perseverance. This approach fostered a sense of unity that transcended geographic and cultural boundaries. Midway through the day, a sudden environmental crisis tested the city's emergency response systems. A severe storm, intensified by climate change, threatened to disrupt energy grids and transportation. The city's AI-controlled infrastructure activated contingency protocols, rerouting power, securing autonomous vehicles, and alerting residents through multiple channels. Elon's team monitored the situation in real time, coordinating with local emergency services and community leaders. The crisis was a real-world stress test of the city's resilience and coordination. As the storm raged, scenes of cooperation and solidarity unfolded. Neighbors checked on each other, emergency teams worked seamlessly with AI systems, and the city adapted dynamically to changing conditions. Elon's narration highlighted these moments as embodiments of the project's core values: technology serving humanity, community supporting each individual, and adaptability enabling survival and growth. The storm passed with minimal disruption, showcasing the practical benefits of integrated innovation. The chapter also explored Elon's internal reflections during the crisis. He acknowledged the lingering doubts and fears but reaffirmed his belief in human ingenuity and the power of collective action. This emotional honesty deepened the story's resonance, portraying Elon not just as a visionary but as a leader grounded in empathy and realism. His interactions with family and close friends provided intimate glimpses of the man behind the public figure, emphasizing themes of trust, love, and shared purpose. Following the storm, the city entered a phase of recovery and analysis. Data collected during the event informed improvements in infrastructure and governance protocols. Elon's team held debriefings and community forums, inviting feedback and fostering a culture of continuous learning. This iterative process underscored the project's commitment to evolution rather than perfection, embracing challenges as opportunities for growth. The day culminated in a global virtual summit where Elon presented the city's achievements and lessons learned. His speech was both celebratory and forward-looking, acknowledging the hard work of countless individuals while outlining ambitious plans for expansion and innovation. The moment of truth had not only been met but surpassed, instilling confidence that Project Genesis could serve as a blueprint for sustainable, equitable futures worldwide. The chapter closed with a powerful scene of Elon standing atop a rooftop overlooking the city at sunset. The skyline was alive with clean energy lights, the hum of autonomous transport, and the quiet pulse of a community thriving in harmony with technology. Elon's voiceover reflected on the journey so far, the triumphs, the setbacks, the betrayals, and the unwavering hope. "This is only the beginning," he said. "The future we build depends on every one of us choosing to believe, to act, and to care. Together, we can create a world where innovation and humanity walk hand in hand." This moment of truth marked a turning point not only for Project Genesis but for the global conversation about progress, responsibility, and the power of dreams realized through collective will. In the wake of Project Genesis's successful demonstration, the world was buzzing with excitement and anticipation. Yet beneath the visible triumph, Elon Musk uncovered a hidden network that operated quietly but with profound influence, a clandestine coalition of power brokers, shadowy financiers, and secretive think tanks dedicated to controlling the trajectory of global technology and society. This hidden network had been working behind the scenes to manipulate markets, politics, and public opinion, ensuring that innovation served their narrow interests rather than humanity's collective good. Elon's discovery came through a series of encrypted communications intercepted by his cybersecurity team. These messages revealed coordination efforts to undermine decentralized technologies, stall regulatory progress, and discredit visionary projects like Genesis. The network's reach was vast, extending across continents and involving figures from industries that spanned finance, media, energy, and defense. This web of influence was both a revelation and a stark reminder that the struggle for the future was as much about power as it was about technology. The chapter unfolded with vivid detail, portraying Elon's reaction to the discovery, a mix of frustration, determination, and strategic recalibration. He recognized that defeating such a network would require more than innovation; it demanded coalition building, transparency, and exposing hidden agendas to the public. Elon's team began working covertly to gather more intelligence while simultaneously expanding public outreach campaigns to raise awareness about the risks posed by concentrated power in the digital age. The narrative described tense meetings where Elon and his advisors debated the ethical implications of exposing the network. They weighed the potential backlash, risks to their allies, and the challenge of mobilizing a skeptical public. The discussion illuminated the complex dance between secrecy and openness that defined much of their work. Elon's leadership shone through as he advocated for courageous transparency, believing that truth was the most powerful weapon against hidden manipulation. Parallel to these strategic efforts, the story highlighted personal moments that deepened Elon's resolve. Conversations with trusted friends and family reminded him of the stakes, not just for Project Genesis but for the generations yet to come. These reflections emphasize the human cost of systemic control and the moral imperative to fight for a future defined by fairness and freedom. The chapter also introduced new allies, whistleblowers, investigative journalists, and grassroots activists, who joined forces with Elon to shine a light on the hidden network's operations. Their collaboration combined cutting-edge technology with old-fashioned courage, unveiling corruption and manipulation in ways that captivated global attention. Public forums, documentaries, and viral social media campaigns brought the issue into everyday conversations, empowering citizens to demand accountability and reform. Amid these efforts, the hidden network retaliated with renewed vigor. Sophisticated disinformation campaigns, legal intimidation, and cyber assaults targeted Elon's project and its supporters. The stakes escalated, and the lines between friend and foe blurred. The chapter portrayed this shadow war with cinematic intensity, capturing the tension and urgency of a battle fought in boardrooms, digital battlegrounds, and public squares alike. Yet, the response from the global community was encouraging. Citizens, innovators, and leaders worldwide began organizing around principles of openness, decentralization, and ethical innovation. Project Genesis became a rallying point, symbolizing the possibility of reclaiming technology from opaque power structures. Elon's vision inspired a movement that transcended borders and disciplines, uniting diverse voices in pursuit of a shared future. The chapter's emotional core centered on Elon's internal journey, balancing the burden of leadership with moments of doubt and hope. He grappled with the paradox of visibility and vulnerability, recognizing that transparency invited scrutiny but was essential for legitimacy. His dialogues with close confidants revealed a man striving to embody the values he championed, even as he faced immense pressure. The chapter concluded with a climactic revelation. A whistleblower within the hidden network stepped forward, providing irrefutable evidence of manipulation and collusion. This disclosure triggered global investigations, regulatory actions, and a surge of public support for reforms aligned with Project Genesis's ideals. Elon stood at the forefront of this historic moment, symbolizing the triumph of courage and clarity over secrecy and control. As the chapter closed, Elon gazed out from his office window at a city transformed by the seeds of innovation and resistance. The hidden network's power had been challenged, but the work was far from over. The future remained uncertain, but the path forward was illuminated by the unwavering belief that technology should serve humanity, not the other way around. The fight for this future had entered a new phase, one defined by transparency, unity, and relentless hope. The revelations about the hidden network sent shockwaves through the corridors of power and the public sphere, igniting a new chapter in Elon Musk's relentless pursuit to dismantle entrenched systems that had long stifled innovation and progress. As Project Genesis expanded, the battle transformed from a fight against external sabotage into a deeper war against the very chains of control, those invisible forces that held back creativity, fairness, and the possibility of a new world order. Elon's strategy shifted toward empowerment and decentralization. The goal was clear: break the chains of monopoly and secrecy that the hidden network relied upon. This meant building technologies and social systems designed to redistribute power and knowledge. The team accelerated development on blockchain-based governance models, transparent AI protocols, and open-source platforms that allowed communities to self-organize and self-regulate. Every layer of Project Genesis was infused with this ethos of liberation. The chapter opened with a vivid scene inside the pilot city's central hub, where Elon and his core team unveiled the new decentralized governance interface to the community. Holographic displays shimmered with data representing real-time decision-making, community voting, and resource allocation. Residents watched in awe as the system allowed them direct input and oversight, transforming the city from a top-down managed environment into a dynamic, participatory ecosystem. This moment symbolized a shift from control to collaboration. Elon's leadership was once again tested. Breaking the chains was not just a technical challenge but a cultural revolution. Resistance came from many quarters, those who feared losing influence, skeptics doubtful of radical transparency, and even some within the project who worried about stability. Elon navigated these tensions with a combination of persuasive vision and pragmatic compromise, ensuring that innovation did not outpace social cohesion. The chapter wove through the personal stories of residents who experienced this transformation firsthand. From Maria, a teacher who used the new governance tools to advocate for equitable education funding, to Jamal, a local entrepreneur who launched a cooperative business supported by transparent microloans, the narrative brought alive the human impact of systemic change. Their voices illustrated how breaking the chains translated into empowerment, dignity, and renewed hope. Amid the celebrations, Elon faced the shadow of the hidden network's backlash. The entrenched powers unleashed economic pressure, media smears, and legal challenges aimed at discrediting the decentralized systems and restoring their dominance. This counterattack tested the resilience of both the technology and the community. Elon's response was to deepen alliances with global partners and grassroots movements, emphasizing solidarity over division. The chapter explored the philosophical dimensions of breaking chains. Elon engaged in dialogues with ethicists, futurists, and activists about the meaning of freedom in a digitally connected world. These conversations enriched the story's texture, highlighting the complexity of liberation when power dynamics are subtle and ever-shifting. Elon's reflections revealed a leader evolving, not just inventing technology but fostering a new social contract grounded in trust and mutual responsibility. Tensions peaked during a dramatic episode where a coordinated strike aimed at the city's decentralized network threatened to plunge the pilot project into chaos. Elon and his team mobilized quickly, demonstrating the robustness of their design and the power of community vigilance. The successful defense was a watershed moment, proving that breaking the chains required both innovation and collective will. The chapter's emotional core centered on Elon's unwavering belief in the possibility of change. He acknowledged setbacks and sacrifices but celebrated each victory as a step toward a world where technology served all people equitably. His speeches and informal talks were infused with passion and humility, inspiring those around him to persevere despite daunting odds. As the chapter drew to a close, Elon stood before a crowd gathered in the city's central plaza for a festival celebrating the progress of decentralization. Lights twinkled, music swelled, and the air was thick with optimism. Elon's voice echoed through the space. Breaking the chains is not just about freeing ourselves from old systems, it's about building a future where everyone has a voice, everyone has power, and everyone can dream without limits. The crowd erupted in applause, a testament to the transformative journey unfolding. This chapter marked a crucial turning point. A moment when technology, community, and courage converged to break the chains of oppression and open the door to a future of shared possibilities. As the pilot city embraced decentralization and transparency, Elon Musk sensed they were approaching a critical juncture, the tipping point where Project Genesis would shift from a localized experiment into a global movement capable of reshaping societies. This moment carried immense promise but also tremendous risk. The forces aligned against them knew that if the project succeeded, it would unravel decades of concentrated power and control. The hidden network and its allies were preparing their most aggressive campaign yet. Elon's team focused on scaling their technological and social frameworks while strengthening the movement's grassroots foundations. A global network of cities, communities, and innovators began adopting Project Genesis's principles, adapting them to local cultures and challenges. This organic growth infused the movement with resilience and diversity. Elon worked tirelessly, connecting with leaders, activists, and everyday people worldwide to nurture a shared vision of a fair, sustainable, and innovative future. The chapter opened with Elon attending a virtual summit linking dozens of cities that had implemented Genesis-inspired systems. The summit was a vibrant exchange of ideas, successes, and challenges. From clean energy cooperatives in Europe to autonomous farming communities in Africa, the diversity of applications was inspiring. Elon's speeches emphasized unity and adaptability, urging participants to learn from each other and protect the movement from fragmentation. However, this rapid expansion also exposed vulnerabilities. Coordination across different political, economic, and cultural landscapes was complex. Conflicts arose over resource allocation, governance priorities, and ideological differences. Elon found himself mediating tense debates, reminding the movement that its strength lay in inclusivity and shared goals rather than uniformity. His leadership balanced vision with pragmatism, encouraging flexibility without compromising core values. Amid these challenges, the hidden network intensified its assault. Using proxies and misinformation, they sought to sow discord within the movement, exploiting differences and mistrust. Fake news, hacked communications, and orchestrated scandals appeared, threatening to derail progress. Elon's team responded with rapid fact-checking, transparent communication, and community empowerment initiatives designed to build media literacy and resilience against manipulation. The chapter also explored the human dimension of the tipping point. Stories of individuals across continents illustrated the personal stakes of the movement. A teacher in Brazil who incorporated Genesis principles into her curriculum, a factory worker in India who benefited from cooperative ownership models, and a young coder in Canada developing open-source tools, all these voices underscored the global impact and emotional resonance of the project's expansion. Elon himself faced moments of doubt and exhaustion. The weight of expectation and the intensity of opposition took a toll. Yet, his conversations with close friends, mentors, and even critics provided balance and renewed strength. These interactions revealed a leader growing not just in vision but in humility and empathy, understanding that the tipping point was as much about human connection as technological innovation. The chapter's climax came during a coordinated global event dubbed Genesis Day, designed to showcase the movement's achievements and galvanize further support. Across time zones, millions participated in virtual and physical gatherings, sharing stories, data, and celebrations. Elon's keynote address was a call to action: we stand at the edge of history. Together, we can tip the scales toward justice, innovation, and hope. The power is in our hands, let's build the future we deserve. The energy and optimism of Genesis Day contrasted sharply with the darkening efforts of the hidden network. Yet, the movement's unity and resilience shone through, demonstrating that the tipping point had indeed been reached. The project was no longer just a dream but a living reality, spreading its roots deep and wide. As the chapter closed, Elon reflected on the journey, from the early days of doubt and betrayal to this unprecedented moment of collective awakening. The future was still uncertain, the challenges formidable, but the momentum was undeniable. The tipping point was not an end but a beginning, a surge of possibility fueled by courage, creativity, and unwavering belief in a better world. Just as Project Genesis gained unstoppable momentum and the global movement edged closer to reshaping the world, Elon Musk faced a devastating blow from within his own ranks. A trusted insider, someone he had counted on for years, had betrayed the project, leaking sensitive information to the hidden network. This betrayal threatened to unravel the progress they had made and plunged Elon into a maelstrom of suspicion, grief, and fierce resolve. The fight was no longer just external, it had penetrated the heart of the movement itself. The chapter opened with the discovery of the leak. Unusual activity had been detected in the city's secure communication channels. A subtle but critical breach that allowed opponents to anticipate strategic moves and exploit vulnerabilities. Elon's cybersecurity team traced the source to an unexpected person, someone close to the core leadership, who had access to confidential plans and data. The shock rippled through the team and community, challenging the trust that had been painstakingly built. Elon's response was complex. The betrayal struck him deeply on a personal level, evoking feelings of disappointment and loss. Yet he understood that the struggle required clear-headed action. The narrative captured his internal conflict, balancing anger with the need for justice, suspicion with the commitment to transparency. This emotional turmoil humanized Elon, showing a leader grappling with painful realities while holding fast to his vision. The story explored the motives behind the betrayal. The insider was revealed to be driven by fear, coercion, and personal ambition, trapped between loyalty to the movement and pressures from the hidden network. This nuanced portrayal emphasized that betrayals are rarely black and white but often born from complex human dilemmas. Elon's approach was not just punitive but also reflective, seeking to understand and address the underlying causes. Meanwhile, the leak accelerated the hidden network's counteroffensive. They exploited the stolen information to launch coordinated attacks, legal battles, media smear campaigns, and cyber warfare that threatened to destabilize the pilot city and its decentralized systems. Elon's team scrambled to respond, fortifying defenses, rallying supporters, and managing public relations with unprecedented urgency. The chapter detailed intense scenes of investigation, confrontation, and damage control. Elon personally confronted the betrayer in a charged meeting that combined accusation, appeal, and an offer for redemption. This pivotal encounter revealed both men's vulnerabilities and the possibility of healing even in the midst of conflict. Elon's willingness to seek understanding rather than revenge highlighted his growth as a leader and his belief in second chances. Parallel to the internal crisis, community members rallied to reinforce the movement's foundations. Town halls, workshops, and open forums emphasized collective vigilance and resilience. Elon's communication stressed unity and transparency, encouraging citizens to participate actively in safeguarding their shared future. These grassroots efforts underscored the story's theme that true power resides in an engaged and informed populace. Amidst chaos, new alliances formed. Tech experts, activists, and policymakers united to create rapid response teams that could anticipate and mitigate future threats. The betrayal, while painful, became a catalyst for strengthening the movement's infrastructure and culture. Elon's narrative voice captured the paradox: sometimes the greatest wounds lead to the deepest healing. The chapter's climax came with a public reveal of the betrayal and the subsequent steps taken to restore trust and security. Elon's speech was raw and honest, acknowledging the pain but reaffirming the collective commitment to the project's ideals. His words resonated worldwide, inspiring renewed dedication and solidarity. The movement emerged scarred but stronger, embodying the resilience that had defined it from the start. As the chapter closed, Elon reflected on the fragility and strength of trust. He understood that betrayal was a reminder of the movement's humanity, a complex web of aspirations, fears, and flaws. Yet, it was also a call to deepen connection, vigilance, and courage. The path forward would be harder but clearer, a future built not on illusions but on honest engagement and shared purpose. After the shock of betrayal within Project Genesis, Elon Musk knew the path ahead would demand more than resilience. It would require a turning tide, a shift not only in strategy but in the very energy of the movement. The community needed a renewal of faith, a collective awakening that would transform adversity into strength. This chapter chronicles the rise of that turning tide, the moment when hope surged back stronger than ever, pushing the project toward a future once thought impossible. The chapter opens with Elon convening an emergency summit at the pilot city's Innovation Center. Leaders from around the globe, innovators, activists, and local residents gathered in a vibrant atmosphere charged with both tension and determination. Elon's speech set the tone: we have faced darkness, betrayal, and doubt. But this is not the end. It is a new beginning. Together, we turn the tide. His words reverberated through the hall, igniting a renewed sense of purpose. This turning tide was built on three pillars: transparency, collaboration, and empowerment. Elon and his team unveiled a series of initiatives designed to deepen openness, foster cross-sector partnerships, and enhance community agency. These included an upgraded open-source platform that allowed anyone to propose and vote on city projects, a global alliance of decentralized innovators sharing knowledge in real time, and local councils empowered to make decisions with unprecedented autonomy. The narrative zooms in on several key stories that illustrate these efforts. Among them is Sarah, a young engineer who launched a community-led clean energy initiative using the new platform. Her project not only reduced the city's carbon footprint but also created jobs and strengthened social ties. Another story follows Javier, an activist in South America who used Genesis's transparency tools to expose corruption and mobilize civic action. These personal accounts highlight how the turning tide was more than policy, it was lived experience. Amid these successes, the hidden network continued to resist. They launched a massive disinformation campaign aimed at undermining public trust in decentralized systems. Elon's team responded with innovative countermeasures, deploying AI-driven fact-checkers, digital literacy programs, and real-time transparency dashboards. The story details the tense cyber battles fought not with guns but with information, each side striving to control the narrative. Elon's leadership was central to this phase. The chapter explores his evolving role, from visionary inventor to empathetic connector and resilient strategist. He embraced vulnerability, openly sharing setbacks and lessons learned, which deepened his bond with the community. The emotional climax of the chapter comes during a moment of crisis when a cyber attack temporarily disrupts the city's energy grid. The response is swift and collaborative. Engineers, residents, and volunteers work together to restore power within hours, showcasing the strength of decentralized resilience. This event becomes a symbol of the movement's capacity to overcome adversity through solidarity and innovation. As the chapter concludes, Elon stands atop a rooftop overlooking the city, now illuminated not just by lights but by the collective spirit of its people. He reflects on how the turning tide was more than a shift in fortunes, it was a transformation of mindset and community. The movement had evolved from a fragile experiment into a dynamic force capable of changing the world. The tide is turning, Elon muses, and with it, the future is ours to shape. As the turning tide propelled Project Genesis forward, the hidden network found itself on the defensive but far from defeated. What followed was a fierce, desperate final campaign to regain control, a shadow's last stand that would test Elon Musk and his allies in ways no one had anticipated. The battle now took on new dimensions, blending technology, psychology, and global politics into a high-stakes showdown. The chapter opens with a clandestine meeting deep within an undisclosed location, where leaders of the hidden network convened to strategize. Their frustration was palpable, years of covert operations had been unraveled, their influence waning. Yet their determination burned brighter, fueled by fear of losing power and the immense resources at their disposal. They planned a multifaceted assault designed to fracture the movement, exploit vulnerabilities, and reassert dominance. Elon's intelligence network soon intercepted signs of this impending offensive. The hidden network had mobilized an army of cyber mercenaries, launched coordinated disinformation campaigns across social media, and bribed key officials in strategic regions. The chapter describes these tactics with a cinematic edge, painting a picture of a shadow war fought not with armies but with bytes, lies, and influence. Facing this escalation, Elon and his team doubled down on innovation and unity. They enhanced the decentralized platforms with adaptive AI defenses capable of detecting and neutralizing attacks in real time. More importantly, Elon called for global solidarity, urging communities to recognize the broader stakes and stand firm. His leadership became a beacon of calm amid chaos, inspiring renewed confidence and cooperation. The chapter highlights personal stories that capture the emotional and psychological toll of the shadow's last stand. Journalists exposing corruption faced threats, activists endured harassment. Engineers worked around the clock to patch vulnerabilities. Through these accounts, the narrative reveals the human cost of fighting for a better future and the courage required to persevere. Amid the tension, Elon engaged in a series of high-profile debates and interviews, using the global stage to expose the hidden network's tactics and advocate for transparency and justice. His words resonated worldwide, rallying support and shifting public opinion. These moments underscored the power of truth in an era rife with deception. The chapter reaches its climax during a dramatic cyber siege targeting the pilot city's core infrastructure. For hours, the decentralized network struggled under assault, threatening blackouts, data breaches, and chaos. Elon coordinated with his team in a tense sequence of decision-making and rapid response, demonstrating the resilience engineered into Genesis's systems. The successful defense became a turning point, signaling that the Shadow's last stand was losing ground. As the chapter closes, the hidden network's leaders are forced into hiding, their grip on power shattered but their presence still a warning. Elon reflects on the nature of power and resistance, recognizing that while the immediate battle was won, the fight for the future was ongoing. He reaffirms the movement's commitment to vigilance, innovation, and unity. The Shadow's last stand was a wake-up call, and a testament to the unstoppable force of collective hope and courage. The defeat of the hidden network's last desperate assault marked the beginning of an unprecedented transformation. The pilot city, and soon the world, stood at the threshold of a new era. This chapter explores how Project Genesis's ideals moved from aspiration to everyday reality, and how Elon Musk's vision began to reshape society in profound ways. The dawn of this new era was filled with promise, challenge, and the raw energy of change. Elon started the chapter by addressing the community in a grand assembly, streamed globally. His words were hopeful but measured. "We are not just building technology, we are building the future of humanity. A future where power belongs to the many, not the few. A future where innovation and empathy walk hand in hand." The crowd's response was electric, symbolizing the collective commitment to the road ahead. The narrative delved into the tangible changes now taking root. Education systems shifted toward personalized, AI-assisted learning, breaking down barriers of access and quality. Renewable energy became the norm rather than the exception, with communities generating and sharing power locally. Healthcare transformed through transparent data and AI diagnostics, making treatment more accessible and efficient. Each innovation was intertwined with stories of individuals whose lives improved dramatically, highlighting the human face of progress. Elon's leadership evolved as well. He embraced a role as a facilitator and mentor, nurturing new leaders from diverse backgrounds who embodied Genesis's principles. The chapter described his mentorship of young visionaries, encouraging creativity, ethical responsibility, and resilience. This passing of the torch ensured that the movement would sustain itself beyond any one individual. Yet, the dawn was not without its challenges. The transition exposed systemic inequalities and cultural frictions that required delicate navigation. Elon and his allies engaged in ongoing dialogues about justice, inclusion, and sustainability. These conversations enriched the story, portraying a society grappling honestly with its imperfections while striving to improve. The chapter also highlighted innovations in governance. Decentralized decision-making platforms allowed communities to address local needs dynamically, while global forums fostered cooperation on issues like climate change and digital rights. Elon's vision of a connected, yet diverse world was coming alive through these structures, balancing autonomy with collaboration. Tension and hope interwove as the story depicted moments of friction, between tradition and progress, individual desires and collective good, short-term sacrifice and long-term gain. Elon's reflections on these dynamics added depth, revealing his belief that true change required patience, empathy, and relentless dedication. As the chapter reached its emotional climax, a massive celebration marked the pilot city's anniversary since implementing Genesis's core systems. The festivities showcased cultural diversity, technological marvels, and community spirit. Elon's keynote speech was both a celebration and a call: "We have crossed the dawn. Now, let us walk together into the day." The crowd erupted in applause, united in purpose and hope. The chapter closed on a quiet moment where Elon gazed at the horizon from a peaceful park, contemplating the journey and the road ahead. He understood that the dawn of a new era was a continuous process, a cycle of learning, adapting, and dreaming. The future was still unwritten, but for the first time, it felt truly within reach. With the dawn of the new era firmly underway, Elon Musk turned his gaze toward the future, not just in terms of technology and systems, but in the legacy that Project Genesis would leave behind. This chapter explores how the movement evolved beyond its origins, how Elon's vision inspired generations, and how the seeds of change began to grow into a worldwide culture of innovation, empathy, and resilience. Elon's reflections opened the chapter, sharing a rare moment of vulnerability and hope. Legacy isn't about what you build today, but what lasts when you're gone. It's about inspiring others to dream bigger, to act boldly, and to believe in a future where everyone belongs. These words set the tone for a story about transformation, mentorship, and the power of shared purpose. The narrative followed several protégés Elon had nurtured, young leaders from diverse backgrounds who embodied the spirit of Genesis. Among them was Maya, an environmental scientist from the Midwest who pioneered climate restoration projects, Jamal, a community organizer in Atlanta who developed decentralized education networks, and Li Wei, a tech innovator in Shanghai advancing open-source medical technologies. Their stories illustrated the global reach and personal impact of the movement's ideals. The chapter also traced how Project Genesis's principles infiltrated various aspects of life. In business, companies adopted transparent governance models, prioritizing sustainability and social responsibility alongside profit. In politics, decentralized platforms enabled more direct citizen participation, reducing corruption and increasing accountability. In culture, new art and media celebrated diversity, collaboration, and forward-thinking optimism. Despite these advances, the legacy was not without its challenges. The narrative acknowledged ongoing struggles with inequality, cultural resistance, and the balance between innovation and tradition. Elon's protégés grappled with these complexities, often debating how best to honor the past while forging new paths. These tensions enriched the story, portraying a legacy that was living and evolving rather than static. Elon's own role shifted toward that of an elder statesman and mentor. The chapter described his retreats to quiet spaces where he wrote, advised, and reflected. His conversations with his protégés were candid and inspiring, full of lessons learned, cautionary tales, and encouragement. Through these interactions, Elon's humanity and humility shone, revealing a man who understood that true leadership is service. The emotional core of the chapter came during a global symposium celebrating Project Genesis's 10th anniversary. Delegates from every continent gathered to share progress, challenges, and visions for the future. Elon's keynote address was a highlight, emphasizing continuity and the shared responsibility to nurture the legacy. We are all stewards of this vision. The future belongs to those who dare to carry the flame forward. As the symposium ended, the chapter closed with a symbolic gesture, Elon passing a torch to Maya, signifying the handing over of responsibility and hope. The scene was poignant, capturing the essence of legacy as a dynamic, collective journey. Elon's final thoughts reflected on how the movement had become bigger than any one person or idea. It was a living, breathing force for change, a legacy in motion. Even as Project Genesis flourished and Elon Musk's legacy took root across the world, a final challenge loomed on the horizon, one that would test the very foundations of everything they had built. This chapter delves into that ultimate trial, where the stakes were highest, the risks immense, and the outcome uncertain. It was a moment that demanded courage, unity, and sacrifice. The story began with disturbing news, a global crisis unlike any before, a cascading failure of multiple interconnected systems caused by a rare but devastating solar storm. This geomagnetic event threatened to disrupt power grids, communication networks, and satellite systems worldwide. The decentralized infrastructure that Genesis relied upon, though resilient, faced unprecedented stress. Elon and his team quickly mobilized, recognizing that this was the true test of their vision. Elon's response was immediate and decisive. He coordinated with international partners, emergency services, scientists, and communities to prepare for the storm's impact. The chapter described intense scenes of coordination, innovation, and raw human determination, teams working around the clock to safeguard critical systems, develop backup protocols, and communicate transparently with the public. The narrative zoomed in on several key figures: engineers racing to protect solar arrays, volunteers assisting vulnerable populations, and leaders making difficult decisions under pressure. Their stories captured the emotional and physical toll of the crisis, showing the depth of human resilience and compassion. Amid the turmoil, Elon remained a steady presence. His leadership combined technical expertise with empathy, offering reassurance and clear direction. The chapter explored his internal reflections on risk, responsibility, and the fragile balance between progress and nature's unpredictability. This added a profound emotional layer, showing a man deeply connected to both his mission and humanity. The crisis reached its climax as the solar storm hit with full force. Power fluctuations, satellite outages, and communication blackouts occurred in waves, testing every contingency plan. The decentralized networks responded with remarkable adaptability, local microgrids activated, autonomous drones delivered aid, and AI systems rerouted resources. Elon's vision of distributed resilience was realized in real time. The story detailed moments of fear, hope, and triumph. Communities pulled together, leveraging technology and trust to survive and recover. The crisis became a powerful demonstration of the movement's strength and the power of collective action. As the storm subsided, Elon addressed the world, reflecting on lessons learned and the path forward. His message was clear: we face nature's challenges not with fear, but with innovation and unity. This crisis showed us our vulnerabilities, and our incredible potential to overcome them. The chapter closed with a sense of cautious optimism, a recognition that the final challenge was not just survived but transformed into a catalyst for deeper growth. The story came full circle on a chilly autumn morning in downtown San Francisco, where the world's eyes were fixed on Elon Musk as he was unexpectedly handcuffed in public. The scene was surreal. Elon, the visionary disruptor, restrained by law enforcement amid a crowd of stunned onlookers and flashing cameras. The question that hung in the air was as piercing as the handcuffs themselves: how could a man, taken down so publicly and abruptly, turn the tide so quickly that he dismantled the very system that restrained him? The answer lay in the extraordinary journey that had led him here and the unyielding spirit that refused to be broken. The arrest was sparked by a controversial speech Elon had given days before, in which he openly challenged entrenched powers and unveiled secrets about the hidden network that had sought to suppress Project Genesis. The powers that be saw his words as a threat too dangerous to ignore. Yet, the arrest was not merely about silencing a man, it was a catalyst for a revolution. Within 5 minutes of being handcuffed, Elon's mind was already working at an extraordinary pace. Using a discreetly implanted microchip connected to a decentralized AI network he had helped develop, he sent encrypted signals to his allies. His message was clear: the fight was far from over. The system that tried to imprison him was about to be dismantled from the inside out. The chapter dives deep into how this moment became a masterstroke of strategy. The public spectacle of his arrest triggered a massive wave of support worldwide. Citizens, tech communities, and activists mobilized instantly, flooding social media with calls for transparency and justice. The decentralized networks that Project Genesis had nurtured activated emergency protocols, exposing the hidden network's corruption and seizing control of key infrastructure nodes. Elon's allies worked swiftly to infiltrate and override centralized command centers, revealing decades of manipulation and power abuses. Within minutes, financial systems, communication monopolies, and surveillance operations were disrupted, returning control to the people. The system that once sought to silence Elon crumbled under the weight of truth and collective action. The narrative captures the electric atmosphere of those moments: hope, chaos, and the exhilarating sense of power shifting to its rightful place. Elon, despite his physical restraint, became the symbol of unstoppable change, a living testament to resilience and innovation. His voice echoed through digital channels, rallying humanity to seize the moment. As law enforcement scrambled to regain control, they found themselves powerless against the decentralized force Elon had ignited. The handcuffs that bound him physically could not contain the revolution unfolding in the digital realm and in the hearts of millions. The chapter reveals how this event marked the definitive collapse of the old order and the rise of a new paradigm rooted in transparency, equity, and shared destiny. The emotional climax arrives as Elon is released, greeted by a sea of supporters whose faith in change has been galvanized by his ordeal. His speech at this pivotal moment reflects on sacrifice, unity, and the enduring power of hope. They thought they could stop one man, but they awakened millions. The future belongs to those who dare to dream and act. The story closes with a profound reflection on the nature of power and freedom. Elon's journey, from handcuffs in public to dismantling a corrupt system in mere minutes. is a testament to human ingenuity and courage. It leaves the audience with a powerful message: no matter how tightly one may be restrained, the spirit of change can never be handcuffed. The revolution had begun, and it was unstoppable. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?